Welcome, 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 everyone, to another episode of CarnivorousGrama Speaks Women of Wisdom. I'm super excited to be here with our friend, Dr. Annelise Barron. Hey, Annelise.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome. So glad that you are here. This is our Women of Wisdom series. And as always, I'm going to start out with my scripture verse that I love to read and that resonates with me whenever I am talking to women. And the scripture is Proverbs 14:1, and it says, "The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands, the foolish one tears hers down." So we know that wisdom is not just about what we know, but it is about what we choose to build, what we nurture, and how we care for the bodies that we have been entrusted with. So today's conversation is going to be about wisdom. Dr. Annelise is a researcher. She works at Stanford. She's going to tell us more about herself. And her research was so fascinating to me. I watched her interview on Dave Mack's show. Of course, everybody knows who Dave Mack is. But so I'm going to go ahead and let Annelise go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and what it is that you do.
Okay, thank you, Robin. So my name is Annelise Barron, Barron, and I'm a professor at Stanford University. And actually, I'm in the department, I'm a tenured associate professor in the Department of Bioengineering, which at Stanford is a unique department because it's part of the School of Medicine and the School of Engineering. And although my training originally, my bachelor's degree from University of Washington and my PhD from UC Berkeley are both in the discipline of chemical engineering, I actually, starting in graduate school, I moved in the direction of medicine and biotechnology. And so I'm an expert, and I deeply understand the molecular biophysics of proteins and nucleic acids and lipids. And I also am a microbiologist, so I'm an expert in various organisms like bacteria, fungi, viruses. Have even recently been working with some, trying to develop anti-infectives that that have application against parasites. So all those things: bacteria, fungi, viruses, parasites. Done some work in the area of cancer. And, I would say that being trained as a chemical engineer, really the greatest thing about that is what chemical engineers learn is how to do systems level analysis. So you can look at a large, complex system, understand what are the key parameters, and what is required to understand the problem and solve the problem. That's really what engineering brings. And so my department, bioengineering, is not only a School of Medicine, but also the School of Engineering. So we teach medicine, physiology, and engineering to the amazing Stanford students. And my focus in the last, say, 20 years has been more in the area of human immunology, and then understanding mechanisms of complex diseases. And I teach at the graduate level 2 subjects. I teach about the immune system, the human immune system, but then also there's a lot of work done with mice, or, so it's kind of human rodent in terms of understanding how things work in detail in the body. And with a deep focus on specifically the innate immune system, which is your body's natural defense. And all of this relates to the carnivore diet and ketogenic diet, because recently, having paid very close attention to Dave Mack's No Carb Life channel, I probably watched, I think he probably has 1,600 interviews up now.
2,000, I think.
How many is it?
It's like 2,000 now, I think. Over
Yeah,
2,000.
so he's a machine. He's amazing.
He's a machine.
But really, since he's so good at just allowing people to tell their personal medical journey and how changing their diet, basically, as far as I can tell, having watched probably 1,100 of those interviews, each one is a medical case study, could be a research publication if someone took the time to get the files and write it up. I have been deeply curious as to why the carnivore ketogenic diet, and so let me be specific. When I say ketogenic, I mean less than 30 grams of carbs a day. How does it essentially put every single chronic disease that you can think of into remission,
Yes.
and also make people look younger, feel younger, get rid of chronic pain, digestive issues that can be such a bane to the existence? It fixes all of that. And so I've been trying to understand why. And I think I have a pretty unique take among the carnivore keto community of really what's going on. And so that's what I'm hoping we can talk about today.
Yes, we absolutely can. The funny thing, as you were sitting here talking about understanding why, one of the biggest challenge that I'm seeing and I'm facing is helping to the people to understand that it actually does
Yeah.
do all of those things, like a myriad of chronic disease states, things that have been designated as incurable,
Yes.
are being literally healed by changing the way you eat. And a lot of people are going carnivore, very, very extreme low carb, and it's literally changing lives. So I love that you're asking the question why. That is a question that we need to have answered because people don't believe it.
People do
They
not
just
believe it. And the problem is, like, also people don't understand, like, when you have a complex disease, like, let's talk about say severe psoriasis,
Mhm.
inflammatory bowel disorder, Crohn's, or metabolic dysfunctions like Hashimoto's or Graves, or let's be honest, or rheumatoid arthritis, so things relating to joint pain, lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis, which are kind of, yes, they're different conditions, but in most hospitals they take care of the lupus and rheumatoid arthritis patients within the same division because they're autoimmune diseases. Another one we think of as an autoimmune disease, multiple sclerosis.
Yes.
And let me just tell you something. Okay, as by way of introduction, I should probably summarize, Robin, quickly, like the conditions I had that I solved with carnivore and how long I've done carnivore. So I
Mhm.
started carnivore January 2020, and it took me a little while, but all of these complex conditions we've been talking about, you're not going to cure those overnight with this dietary change. You really have to think of the process of healing on sort of a 6-month to 1-year time frame for any complex condition. So bowel issues, skin issues, joint pain issues, you will experience improvements very quickly. So your joint pain will be less within, I think, 4 or 5 days.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah,
I understand
absolutely.
why, specifically why it is, and this is one thing that, I remember Dave Mack, and especially I remember Carrie Mann of Homestead House saying that the interesting thing is, so Carrie Mann, he'd probably gotten up to like 230 pounds at one point, and he had a lot
Mhm.
of joint pain. And he was very surprised that by day 3 or 4, the joint pain was a lot less, even though he hadn't lost weight yet, right? Because you do lose weight. Why would that be? It's because once you're in ketosis, like truly in ketosis, which you will be if you're strict carnivore
Right.
or ketovore,
Yes.
then there's a compound that rises at a particular ketone called beta hydroxybutyrate.
Mhm.
Right? That's the main ketone your body makes when you're truly in ketosis. That molecule, beta hydroxybutyrate, inhibits the inflammasome, which is the key engine for inflammation. So the inflammation and the pain that comes with it, and should I mention also mood issues that are related to neuroinflammation, anxiety, depression, bipolar, those things can also go into remission pretty quickly, because as soon as you have the beta hydroxybutyrate in your blood, you'll inhibit that inflammatory pathway. But the actual tissue, brain, nerve, gut healing, that is going to take time. And so it's really important that people believe us simply so that they will try it and stick with it long enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for myself, I lost 65 pounds.
Awesome.
Okay. And then I cured incipient or early stage type 2 diabetes. I cured that. I had ulcerative colitis. So that involved bleeding from the gut. I never figured out exactly what was happening, but Carnivore cured it and it stopped. And I never had gone to the doctor because I know better than to let somebody possibly perforate my gut. And it happens. You know, I'm not willing to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've heard enough about when, you know, mistakes are made. I just like, hey, you know, I treasure my God-given healthy tissues and I don't want to damage them. And I don't trust a medical technician, you know, to not make a mistake. You know, it's not that important for me to know the details of the pathology, especially once you know how to heal it. And then I had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, right, which involves the creation of antibodies to your own thyroid hormone, which makes your metabolism inefficient. And I, with a combination of carnivore and fasting, so I did carnivore. After a while, I switched to 1 meal a day on carnivore and had great healing with that. And then the Hashimoto's, I also did one 40-day water fast 3 years ago.
Wow.
Just 3 years ago. And that completely cured the Hashimoto's.
Amazing.
And I had plantar fasciitis, so a really acute pain in my feet when I would wake, and it made it hard to walk, and that went away. I'm convinced that was the oxalates.
Mm-hmm.
So that was from eating plants. What else? My vision got better. My hair, you know, I have a little bit of gray, but it's relatively little for my age, which is 57 now.
Mm-hmm.
And most particularly, like a complete positive change in my outlook, mood, and personality. I became very, you know, calm. I like to say sort of imperturbable, right? Like you get to a point where you feel like nothing is really going to make you upset or anxious. You can roll with it. And that is very much affected by diet.
That
So
is awesome.
that's
That is
my
awesome.
personal story of all the things that healed.
Amazing.
And I say, I don't think I look as good now as I did, say, 2 years ago, because over the last, as I mentioned this to you before we got on, like the last 6 months, I've been a little more loose with carnivore or omnivorous, and I definitely am paying the price. And that's just because of my family situation where the person that I live with wants to be an omnivore and I'm the cook. So
yeah, I understand. I'll tell you, I have my daughter here. My daughter has 5 kids and they're all omnivores. So I make some keto foods for them. Today I'm making a keto lasagna. So, you know, I won't be eating any of that. So, you know, we were talking about, you asked a couple of questions before we got started, and I kind of want to touch on one of them. You said, why does keto change the way your immune system works? And I this resonates with me because I'm finding that I'm a person that has to be carnivore. Like, and maybe I've only been doing this for almost 3 years. February will be 3 years. But the more things that I have removed, the more things I can't bring back.
Right. And in fact, you know, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, at one point I saw him say in an interview, like the last 5% of non-carnivore things you remove from your diet give you 95% of the benefits. And I believe him, and I still haven't gone all the way. I will at some point, but
I hear you because I still drink coffee,
with
and
coffee, right?
Doctor Chapey is like, cut that out right now.
Yeah, he says coffee causes him joint pain, and that it.
Mm,
So one thing also
interesting.
I'll mention. So my New Year's resolution for 2026 was I started walking at least 10,000 steps a day,
Good.
and that, and I got that from Kelly Hogan. And maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, she was saying like she started incorporating that into her routine, as many as 15,000 steps a day, and she couldn't believe how much better she felt, right? And Kelly's
Yes.
like so optimized already.
Yes.
So I
She is
thought, wow,
amazing.
if it made a difference for Kelly, I got to try it, right? And
Yes.
and so I guess I've been doing it now for a month, walking at least 10,000 steps, say at least 6 days a week.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, deeper sleep, just everything is better. So you see a lot of people saying, I can do carnivore and I don't have to exercise. And even Kelly used to say that, right? She'd
Yep.
say, I could just like eat burger patties all
Mhm.
day, every day, and then I don't have to exercise. And it's true that she got a nice figure doing that. But I think if you want to feel really good, your body needs you to go out and cover the distance. Do you walk? What's your deal?
I do. So, probably a little over a year ago, we, in my group, started doing 14,400 steps a day, a challenge.
Oh, why that number?
So there's a challenges app, and that app, it asks you to do 14,400 steps a day. And so, I have been doing that. And what I can say about that is that, there are certain things that have been game changers. Uh, Carnivore itself is truly a game changer. But another one of those things was incorporating that 14,400 steps a day for, because I was close to my goal weight. I guess I would say I'm still close to my goal weight. And I have not really, the weight that they say that I should be at, I'm not there. But as far as the shape of my body, like I can
You're happy
see
with
a
it.
complete difference. Like the bottom half of my body, I was like so shocked at the major difference that was there when I started doing the walking. So,
And
and that's just walking, nothing,
yeah. Well, let me
nothing
ask
really
you a
major.
question. Since we're both women about the same age, right? We're like just a couple years apart.
Mhm.
I was amazed with the walking how much it tightened up my abdomen and my core. I did not
Yes.
expect that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
It's
I
a
think,
true game changer, you guys.
yeah,
If
you
you're
gotta
not
move the
walking,
whole body.
yeah, it really, really, and a lot of times because it's cold right now, I'll just march. I just like march in
Yeah.
place and I'll get my 14,400 steps that way. And it really, really, really has been a game changer. So yes, I love to hear that that is a great component because a lot of times, and I think that when I started carnivore, I had that same thought, like I don't need to work out at all. I mean, I was doing a little bit of walking here and there. I walk my
Yeah.
dog or,
Then
stuff
like
like that.
you get up to like 3,500, 4,000 steps just doing daily activities. But
Yes,
it is not the same as like a focused walking. It does
exactly.
not provide the
Yep.
same benefit. And it does provide an immune benefit to kind of get back to the question, the topic you were setting up. Um, as we were talking about before we went on, started to live stream, I have specific concepts I want to introduce to this carnivore community,
Yes.
which, personally, my belief, I should say, is I want the knowledge and understanding that is essentially coming from citizen science and citizen scientists like you and I to permeate throughout the entire global society so that everybody can feel good and be healthier, because it's foolish not to do that, right?
Right.
And so the three concepts. Number one, a ketogenic carnivore diet enhances your immune system and can heal, as far as I can tell, and this is hard, comes back to getting people to believe it. It can heal everything except I'd say advanced cancer, right?
Mm.
I mean, you can't necessarily reverse cancer that's already metastasized. And sometimes you can, but I think you can always extend somebody's life with carnivore.
Yeah. Yes.
But other than that, I think it can heal everything. Why? I say keto carnivore enhances the ability of your immune system, especially your innate immune system, to function properly, which comes to our number 2. What is the true cause of all of those diseases? The chronic diseases, diabetes, so-called autoimmune diseases like psoriasis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and the more serious so-called autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis, and then the neurodegenerative, neuroinflammatory diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and all of the accompanying other kinds of dementia. There's one called vascular dementia, there's frontotemporal dementia. They sort of name these diseases differently based on which nerves or which brain region is affected. Increasingly, I really believe those are everything I've just listed. Okay, all of it. Those are all the same disease, actually. They have different names because they're occurring in different body compartments or brain regions, but they're really all a function of the immune system not functioning properly, and they're all caused by, so here's the game changer. They're all caused by chronic infections that the body cannot resolve there are bacteria, fungi, and viruses that your body will never fully clear without a treatment. But the ketogenic carnivore diet revs up your immune system so well, especially if you combine it with daily exercise, that all of those things get placed under control very effectively, and the symptoms go away. There are, and I can talk about what those pathogens are, so mostly it's oral anaerobic bacteria, it's Candida albicans and other fungi, and then it's a range of what they call neurotropic viruses. So these are viruses that actually reside and spend their entire life cycle within nerves throughout your body. And this includes all of the herpes viruses. And there's 8 different herpes viruses that are endemic in the human population, meaning almost everybody will contract them during their lives. And once you contract them, you have them for life. And they travel through your neurons and they reach the brain. And here's the thing, when you eat sugars, you directly and immediately weaken your immune system for at least 5 hours. Now think about how most people live still, people that are not on a ketovore carnivore diet. They eat sugars throughout the day.
Yep.
And, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I typically just have coffee in the morning. I do put some whole milk in my coffee, so that's not strictly carnivore. And then I just have dinner. I usually don't eat much otherwise. But every time you eat more than, say, 20 grams of carbs, your immune system shuts down for 5 hours. Now, if you're eating 3 times a day, and that is published science, and believe it or not, this was shown in 1973. So everybody knows you have white blood cells in your bloodstream, right? The most kind of numerous and important white blood cells are called neutrophils. You make like 80 billion new neutrophils a day in your bone marrow and release them. So you have neutrophils, you have macrophages, and then you have a kind of cells called natural killer cells so neutrophils go after any kind of pathogen, bacteria, virus, fungi it finds in your bloodstream. Macrophages clean up the mess after and also engulf those things. So both of those two cells are phagocytes. So they eat the bacteria, fungi, and viruses, and then they take them apart inside of the cell and reuse all the components.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Fascinating.
And the interesting thing is these white blood cells, they're typically, they're not too small and not too big. They're sort of 5 to 10 microns in size, neutrophils and
Okay.
macrophages, just pretty good sized. They are like a dog in the sense that they literally smell bacteria. The way they quote unquote smell bacteria is bacteria release metabolic products, which are little short peptides. Like I think the one, it's like phenylalanine, methionine, and leucine. Phemet-Lu is a common metabolic byproduct of bacterial metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
And you can like take a pipette and release that little tripeptide, and you can get a macrophage or a neutrophil to follow it the way a dog would follow a piece of meat.
Oh, wow.
So these white blood cells smell pathogens, and they follow that scent trail. They go straight to the pathogen and eat it.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
That
I mean,
is.
it's so brilliant, this system of our body. But when you eat sugar, you prevent them from being able to do that. They go into like a stasis. Now, if you're eating 3 times a day and there's always carbs in the diet, your immune system is never functioning well, except maybe for some period of sleep, within your sleep cycle. Let's say you have 12 hours when you're not eating. You'll kind of touch into strong immunity during your sleep. But if you just look around you, especially in the United States, in areas where people eat omnivorous diets and eat 3 meals a day, you see the negative consequences of aging. But that is not natural human physiology, because we're not meant to be eating that often or that much,
Right.
or we're not meant to be eating refined flours and sugars.
Right.
And our body is fully able to keep all of those pathogens, bacteria, fungi, and virus under control if we let it. But eating carbs doesn't let it. That's the point.
Wow. This is so interesting.
And don't you see how, like, you will go and you watch all of our favorite carnivore influencers, even Kelly, Hogan, and Dave Mack. Dave Mack knows this. And even Thomas Seyfried, who's a genius in the cancer and carnivore diet area.
Yes.
And Carrie Mann, you hear them talking so much about inflammation, right?
That's exactly where I was going. So
They
yes, go
talk about
ahead.
inflammation and they talk about mitochondrial health. And listen, here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. They're not wrong, because everything they're saying is correct, in the sense that if you're on a carnivore or strict keto diet, you will reduce inflammation. And yes,
Yes.
inflammation is the cause of the joint pain and tissue degeneration, etc. The only thing I'm saying is I'm backing it up one more step. Where does the inflammation actually come from at the root cause? Weakened, poorly regulated immunity, and chronic infection. And what's special about this infection is that this is typically undiagnosed. Like, how often does somebody go, oh, I have candida and it's causing, or say I have, varicella zoster virus causing reactivations of herpes simplex virus, which is causing literally neuroinflammation in the brain. Because you don't have to be symptomatic with a cold sore for it to be causing damage and to be flaring. So let me tell you something really fascinating that's been recently discovered at Stanford. And when I say recent, I'm saying last 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Lupus erythematosus multiple sclerosis and rheumatoid arthritis have all recently been linked with Epstein-Barr virus. Now, if you've heard of Epstein-Barr virus, which is a herpes virus, it's very much endemic. So by the age of 50, something like 95% of people are carrying it. It generally, you probably heard of chronic fatigue syndrome at some point in your life. Okay. They know that chronic fatigue syndrome and mononucleosis are caused by Epstein-Barr virus infection. They've known that a long time. But it's very recent that we understood that it also was the cause of multiple sclerosis, lupus erythematosus, and rheumatoid arthritis. And this is all like scientific literature level stuff. I really doubt that very many physicians know this yet, because the practice of medicine is usually 10 to 15 years behind the cutting edge of research, in the medical community. So this particular research was done in the group of William Robinson at Stanford in microbiology and immunology. He's actually the chair.
Okay.
And another thing that's happening at Stanford that's really exciting, this is two professors, Dr. Shabani Sethi, who's in psychiatry, she's a clinician, and Dr. Michael Snyder in genetics. He's very interested in metabolic health and immunity. Those two are working together, running a clinical trial using the ketogenic diet to treat mental illness, so-called mental illness. And, the big headline, they already have published one paper. I think it had 21 people who had either anxiety, depression, bipolar, or schizophrenia that was resistant to any psychiatric medications. So on those patients that couldn't be treated with these so-called psych meds and gave them a ketogenic diet, and incredible benefits. Like, it works. But so far, the way they explained it was mitochondrial health and reduction of inflammation. So I'm starting a new collaboration with them to tie it to rebalancing the immune system by a ketogenic diet and getting pathogens under control. Because, again, taking it back a step, I think it's these pathogens like Epstein-Barr virus, and in the area that I work in, which is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, it's a different virus called human cytomegalovirus. Have you heard of that virus?
I have heard of it, but I don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
I've heard the term. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why you haven't heard much about cytomegalovirus is two things. Number one, like Epstein-Barr virus, it's endemic. Almost everybody's carrying it, but it doesn't tend to be the cause of symptomatic disease, except for people that are being treated for cancer. So that, they intentionally will immune suppress people to treat lymphoma or leukemia, for instance, or people that need to get an organ transplant. They will intentionally immune suppress people when they need to get a transplanted organ, like a kidney or a liver or heart or a lung, right? So when people are intentionally immunosuppressed, cytomegalovirus can cause severe or even life-threatening flu-like illness. But most of us, we have Epstein-Barr. It can be if it flares, what do we feel? We feel fatigue. And at the worst, we'll feel kind of a flu-like tiredness, right? Those are the kinds of viruses that keto and carnivore just suppress very effectively. And now you feel great. You get your energy back. You can think more clearly because these are nerve residing viruses.
Yeah.
And the part that I recently figured out, and I have an interview with Dr. Anthony Chafee on the Plant Free MD podcast, we talked about this. I was really trying to understand, like, why would viruses go into remission when you change your diet? And it's kind of a sort of complex thing where when you stop eating sugar, Candida comes under control. So Candida albicans is a what's called a polymorphic fungus. And that fungus, along with certain bacteria that like to grow along with it in a biofilm, they turn off antiviral immunity. So when you go keto carnivore, you turn your ability to fight viruses back on.
Okay.
That's the key right there. That is the key.
Very interesting. I know that at one point in my life, before I found carnivore, I had severe candida overgrowth. And I was on a candida diet for a time.
What's that diet like?
It's no sugar.
No sugar. So you actually were doing no sugar, but I guess you were still eating plants.
I was still eating plants. I was still eating processed packaged foods, but it is no sugar, a no sugar way of eating. And actually, this was prescribed to me by my acupuncturist, not by my medical practitioner. So, in fact, I don't think I've ever even heard a doctor mention candida ever.
Yeah. And there, honestly, I don't think there's anything more important than getting candida under control to rebalance your immune system for the reasons I said. But this is, again, it's 10 years until mainstream doctors will understand this. And
So that's
it is
so
kind of
sad.
heartbreaking, isn't it?
It is, it is. I think, we were talking about these viruses, herpes. So how does the carnivore diet actually help to eliminate these?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so it does. All
So,
right.
so if you are doing carnivore strictly and well, okay,
Mhm.
meaning you're not, let's just say you're pretty good with staying less than 20 grams of carbs a day
Mhm.
most of the time, right?
Yep.
What's going to happen then is candida doesn't have enough sugar to grow because your
Right.
normal amount of blood sugar that your liver produces is not enough for candida to grow. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
So when candida is under control, then the oral bacteria that are anaerobic can't live because candida consumes oxygen voraciously. So the anaerobes like to grow together in a dual biofilm with candida because the candida consumes all the oxygen, and then oxygen kills these bacteria. When you have a dual biofilm of candida and the really signature bacterium or keystone pathogen is called Porphyromonas gingivalis. It causes
Hmm.
gingivitis. You've heard of gingivitis, right? So candida and Porphyromonas gingivalis, they together turn off your antiviral immunity, which is called your interferon system, interferon lambda in particular. So you go carnivore, interferon lambda turns back on, but it's this cascading effect. You get rid of candida. Okay, now you get rid of Porphyromonas gingivalis. Get rid of that one. Now your interferon lambda turns back on, and now all of those viruses come under control. These are ones that cause mental illness, quote unquote, mood changes, lack of energy, and then all these diseases. Those are
Mhm.
all dysregulated innate immunity. And, I hate to say it, but, let's say after the age of about 45, I don't think you can get away with eating carbs anymore. And as you get
Mm.
older, just as you were saying, you got to get rid of the plants too as you get older, at least in this country, right? Like you've heard a lot of people say they can go to Italy or France and they can eat the
Mhm.
bread there because
Yes.
they're much stricter about what chemicals they allow into their food supply.
Mhm.
That includes pesticides, that includes glyphosate. Um, we're not careful in the United States. So,
No.
even organic, you saw the new results that came out of Florida. They tested vegetables, organic and normal. And yeah, the organic had lower amounts of glyphosate, but none of them were completely clean.
Right.
And they
Yeah. Yes,
tested
I did
bread
hear that.
too. The bread is like a glyphosate bomb, and that causes leaky gut.
Yes.
So in this country right now, until we clean things up, and that could easily take 10 to 15 years,
Yeah.
if you want to be healthy, you kind of have to eat carnivore.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. So, this is so interesting to me because
Yeah,
I've been talking about inflammation on my channel for almost 3 years now. We
yeah,
talk about inflammation all the time, but it really seems that we are oversimplifying what is actually happening, right? And this is just so fascinating
yeah.
that
And
it's these
it's
viruses.
and it's great because to talk about inflammation up until now has been enough because when you have joint pain, when you have a rash, when you have gut pain or gut dysfunction, that is all inflammation. All we're doing is going like, I'm a scientist and I'm also the personality type that cannot rest until it fully understands the deepest root cause, right?
Mhm.
And there are so many people that will be resistant to a lifestyle change until they understand why it would work,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So a lot of people, they need to get to the root cause before they will be convinced. And so
Mhm.
my goal now, as a Stanford faculty member, is to be part of a global community that will explain to the world, to kind of the mainstream gold standard scientists, why this works, so that everybody becomes willing to try it because they understand, on one hand, what is the cause of these diseases, and on the other hand, why do I not need a single pharmaceutical drug necessarily to fix
Right.
it? I
Yes.
don't need that. I need the carnivore diet and patience and to go out and walk 10,000 steps a day. That's what I need. That's all I need, which
That's
is
that's
beautiful, right?
incredible. That is incredible. And
And
this is what we're trying to teach over here. Well, this is
yeah,
what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that, what would it be like if you didn't need a pill or
yeah,
any kind of a drug to be able to be healthy? Um, and so our goal is to not be on medication. Like unnecessarily on medication when you
right.
can, what you're saying is and I read a scripture at the beginning because but the body is fearfully and wonderfully made,
Exactly.
designed to heal itself given the proper fuel or given the right food, the right environment. And so these you talk about fungus, you talked about candida, the bacteria, you talked about viruses, um, which are, underlying, and as you said, endemic. Wow. You know,
Endemic.
who
For
knew?
instance, the percentage of people that have Epstein-Barr virus after age 50 is 95 to 97%. The number of
Wow.
people that have cytomegalovirus, which is what we're finding. So we have unpublished data where we find the Porphyromonas gingivalis molecules produced by that bacteria and cytomegalovirus. We find them in the gut, in the vagal nerve, in the cerebral spinal fluid, and the brain of people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's,
Mm,
but to almost none in healthy people that died healthy. So this is,
mm,
a disease that uses banked human tissue. At Arizona State University, they have a neurodegenerative disease research center, and we've been probing the tissues where that is to my knowledge, that's one of the only biobanks that has the whole body.
mm,
A lot of times for an Alzheimer's center will just bank the brain.
mhm,
In Arizona State, they have the whole body, which is why we were able to look at the transverse colon, vagal nerve, cerebral spinal fluid, as well as the brain, and also the salivary glands. And so basically, I am willing to say, I believe that, say, at least 50% of the time, those diseases, dementia, is caused by chronic infection that the body is not able
mm.
to control. And if you want to slow that process, stop that process, change your diet to carnivore, walk 10,000 steps a day. You can actually get tested for these key pathogens. But in the end, like, the herpes viruses cannot be eliminated. And I think you'll notice, I'm sure you've watched many of Dave Mack's interviews. You notice how the first thing people say, like, their gum health is one of the first things that really gets better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sign that with the candida gone, now you get all those oral bacteria into a good balance again.
Mm-hmm.
And your immune system will naturally come back. So yes, you could take an antibiotic to kill the bacteria in your mouth, but it's really not necessary. And it does mess up your gut microbiome to
Yes,
take
it does. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, the natural approach and patience, our bodies are perfectly designed, and we have to make a decision, which is, do we trust the way God designed our immune systems, or do we not? Right? And this comes to kind of the third aspect. So I talked about how ketovore diet, ketogenic diet, like carnivore especially, rebalances and strengthens immunity, getting these pathogens under control. Now let's come to the third point, which is a bit of a sensitive topic because it's kind of become, in a way, political. Oops. Okay, there you are.
Yeah.
Sorry, it suddenly disappeared.
Okay.
It's vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing I would say is, because I teach immunology at Stanford, and I particularly teach about the subject of vaccines.
Okay.
What I'm about to tell you is established, published, verified vaccine science, which was led not by American scientists, but primarily by Danish scientists. And then it's been verified by many labs who were working with African countries, Indian countries, even the Netherlands, that certain live vaccines will actually strengthen your whole immune system. And the ones I would say there are the BCG vaccine against tuberculosis and the original oral poliovirus, which is a live virus vaccine. So while not, acknowledging that those vaccines, because they're live, there is some risk in immunocompromised individuals of getting the actual infection of polio or getting the actual infection of BCG. That could happen in, like, people that have low vitamin D or who are immunocompromised, but it's rare. It's very rare for those to actually cause the infection. They strengthen your whole immune system. Really, those two, which, by the way, you cannot get either of those two vaccines in the United States. Okay. So now let's consider all the other vaccines that you can or will be offered in the United States. They are non-live. They are molecular in nature, or they use a killed organism. Those, while they might allow your body to produce antibodies against whatever they're targeted towards, they weaken your whole immune system across the board.
Wow.
So that's what the Danish researchers, Peter Aabye and Christine Stabel-Ben, they basically have proven that the live vaccines strengthen your immune system across the board, and non-live weaken your immune system across the board. Okay. And they've shown this in huge studies, epidemiological studies, and then investigational studies. What does that mean? That means every time you take a vaccine in this country, which is non-live, you weaken your whole immune system.
Wow.
So I would say, and this comes back to understanding that our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made and perfectly designed, and our immune system, if allowed to function naturally, is generally pretty perfect. But you go in and you poke it and you perturb it. And one way to do that is eating a lot of sugar. Another way to do that is to keep taking these vaccines that are non-live. You just
Mm,
tweak and perturb and the immune system every time.
wow.
So I personally, it's funny to come from the position of being a bioengineer who wants to tinker and change, and then when you learn enough, and as a professor teaching immunology, I had to really learn a ton, right? Do they know what causes all these complex diseases? No. Do they really know how to treat it in a way that's proper? No, no. They don't
Wow.
understand it and they don't know how to treat it. And you would think, you come in as a layperson with all this assumption that you can trust your doctors and the approach. No.
That's
But
right.
what you can trust is your own natural body to have all the plans to regain your health. And so, it's like you come full circle and say, do we really need to study all the pathology in detail if we know how to fix it? No.
Mm.
Think about all the money and resources we're putting into trying to have a super detailed understanding of the pathology when all you really need to do is change your diet.
Yeah, I just really wish it were that simple. But I think it's like you said earlier that people just will not believe it. You think about what is being told to us. I'll give you my example because I had severe eczema. I mean,
Oh,
terrible,
you had
terrible
eczema. So
eczema.
that's one that,
Yes.
again,
I'm
with
gonna show you
eczema,
my picture if I
yeah,
can
show
find
me.
it.
Because I would like to, if we have a moment, I would just like to hear about all the things you cured.
Yeah, so these are my pictures.
Wow.
Um,
And you look so beautiful now. Your skin is so smooth and perfect. You must be over the moon. Oh, and
I am.
the dark
Yep, dark
circles
circles.
around your eyes there. That is just showing that your body was fighting something, right?
Yes, exactly. And I thought it was eczema, and you can see this. This is dyshydrotic eczema.
Wow.
My skin would peel and crack and just do so much. I didn't even have fingerprints. It was
Did it
so
hurt?
bad. It hurt. It would get infected. I would hold my hands like this because I didn't want to touch anything. So
Yeah.
just to remind myself not to touch anything because I would get these infections. And it was just really, really awful. And what the doctors told me, and I went to many doctors, and they said it's not food related. Nothing to do with food. And I'm like, but sometimes if I eat this or that, it'll flare up. Oh no, it has nothing to do with food. Take these injections, take this pill, take this cream, this ointment, and it was very frustrating. And then come to find out it was completely related to the food that I was
Completely
eating.
food. But really,
100%.
but through this cascade of the food you were eating messed up your immune system.
Mhm.
And eczema is one that's super interesting because they really have no clue what causes eczema.
It's the food.
Was that your main issue?
So I had eczema, I had, IBS,
Okay.
with
It was gut too?
constipation, so,
Yep.
I'm, like, sitting in the bathroom for an hour crying, trying to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I had very, very severe debilitating anxiety,
Okay.
like, to the point where I went to the doctor and told them to put me on medication for it because I can't function in my life, which I weaned off of after I was 6 months carnivore. And so a number of other things, but I do have like this bone on bone knee arthritis, which they told me don't walk, don't run, basically sit down and wait to get your knee surgery. And
Now,
so,
did that pain go away?
it did not go away, but it's a lot better.
Okay,
So
good.
way better than it was. Like, I would be limping around and sometimes if I get something that's inflammatory, like I can't tolerate cheese, I can't tolerate much dairy at
Oh,
all, no heavy cream in the
can you tell me how
coffee.
you eat?
Yes, I can tell you how I eat. So I eat typically 1 or 2 meals a day. I like to eat beef. Today I had scrambled eggs, bacon, and 2 different kinds of sausage. But generally I like to have a steak or some kind of beef, burger patties, or I'll do a a ribeye. I bought a bunch of ribeyes when they were on sale,
Yeah.
those kinds of things, and a little bit of eggs, not that often, maybe once a week or twice a week, because I feel like I get a little histamine response to that if I
Yep.
get over a certain level. I do have coffee, and
You put anything in your coffee, you have it black.
I have it with salty electrolytes. So in my
Oh,
coffee, I put the
do you put
salty,
the chocolate
the
one?
chocolate ones. Yes.
Yeah, the
So
chocolate,
good.
oh, what's the brand again? Element. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good. Yeah. So either the element or salty, one or the other of those.
Oh,
And
there's
then
one called
also,
salty. I don't know that one.
yeah, by Keto Chow.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'll put a drop of iodine. And I do Keto Brains nootropic. And so it's like a creamer because I can't have dairy, so I don't do any heavy cream. So I put that creamer in there.
I
And
should
so
try cutting out
oh
dairy.
yeah. It
What
dairy,
about
I
butter? You can't have butter?
I can have some butter, but what I found was I did the stick of butter a day, like steak and butter gal.
Yeah.
I gained 10 pounds in a month doing that. And
You
plus
know,
it does cause my eczema to flare up if I have too much butter.
okay. I just wanna say,
Mhm.
like, you for not quite 3 years, you must be so happy because you just look radiant.
I'm so happy. I am
And the
so happy about the change. I'm happy and I'm thankful that there was something that I could do that didn't include me taking a pill because I don't want to be on pills. There are certain things that I would like out of life, like I want to age with my faculties, my mental health, and
Yeah,
the Alzheimer's and dementia, it runs in my family. So
you don't want
I'm
that.
thinking if I can avoid eating the same kind of food that ran in my family, I probably can avoid having the same kind of illnesses that ran in my family. My dad has chronic hypertension. I do
Yeah,
not, even though I
I
was
do
headed
not
that
either,
way.
and the one thing I would like to ask you and maybe have you do is, do you take vitamin D3 and magnesium?
Yes, I
Okay, those
do.
are the
I
only
do.
ones I really would like you to take is D3 with K2
Yep.
and magnesium threonate, which will get into your brain. So
Magnesium threonate.
yeah,
Okay.
so magnesium threonate, it's a little more expensive, but it's the only one that will get into your neurological tissues as well. And you need that because your brain gets its immune defense from D3, and magnesium is absolutely required for D3 to work. And then one other that is a good possible addition, you can see if you tolerate it, is curcumin.
Okay.
Curcumin, which comes from turmeric, or it's the curry spice.
Yep.
Those three things, D3, curcumin, and magnesium, they work together very specifically to turn on an immune pathway that will help your body fight these infections that cause dementia.
Oh
So,
man,
and,
that's
getting
awesome.
sunshine is great, but we don't, where we live in the United States, we don't necessarily get as much sunshine as we want. And
Right.
um, if you have darker skin, you'll absorb it less effectively. So
Yes.
just make sure you try to get as much sunshine as you can, but be aware too that even if you're walking, if you are able to get outside and walk, certainly, you should be able to do that 8, 9 months of the year.
Mhm.
Infrared light that comes from the sun is also very powerful. So that's, believe it or not, that's just long wavelength light, infrared. So
Mhm.
the visible light is important, and sort of far UV turns on your vitamin D3, great. But infrared really is beneficial for your mental health too. So get outside.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Annalise. I appreciate that because, like I said, those are things that I do not want. I want to be vital as long as I live. And what I'm understanding is all these diseases of aging unnecessary.
You don't
Why,
have to have them.
we don't have to have them.
You don't have
So
to ever get any autoimmune disease whatsoever.
that
Even
is
though we
awesome.
all carry those viruses that can cause those diseases, it's so easy to help your body keep them under control. And honestly, I feel like you and I are early adopters, right?
Yeah.
Because this is really the best test. How many carnivores do you know in person that you did not create?
Ooh. I know a few because I go to these carnivore meetups.
Oh yeah, I'm
I
going to go to
know a
my
few.
first. I'm going to my first one in early May. May 1 to 4 is the. Are you going to beat that one in
Which one is
Tennessee?
it?
It's called meat.
Meat stock.
Yeah, meat stock.
Oh no, I'm not going to meat stock
Oh
this year.
dang,
I have my
I'm gonna
own
be there.
yeah, I have my own meetup that I do in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's called Impact. You're more than welcome to come
Yeah,
and see
no,
us in
I'll come.
Kalamazoo.
I'll come. When is it?
It's September 5th. I will send you the information.
Okay, well,
That
I'd
would
love
be
to come.
incredible.
Maybe you'd let me give a talk. Do you do talks?
Yes, we do.
So I'm not able to
Absolutely.
give a talk at the meat stock because I found out about it too late. So I'll go and I'll meet everybody. But I did buy the VIP passes so I can meet Dave
Good.
and Mac and
Yeah.
people.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you would let me give like a little presentation about this, I promise to make it very methodical and coherent so that everybody can follow it. Because I want
Yes.
people to know this, and I'll share my slide deck so that
Yes.
oh, I wanted
Yes.
to mention one thing before we finish. So I got so excited about the power of beef and eggs that I bought a ranch. And so
Oh,
so I'm right now, I have a 167-acre ranch and I will be expanding it. We have 23 cows, so we're just founding the herd now. And it's, 6 little calves and 5 more coming soon and all their
oh,
mothers. We have one bull named Daryl and
Daryl.
20
I love
chickens.
it.
Actually, our bull Daryl is named after Daryl from The Walking Dead,
Oh, wow.
which we went through a Walking Dead phase where we watched all the 11 seasons.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But so I have fresh eggs and it's not quite time. So, but soon we'll have our own beef. But yeah, and move to Northern California where it's really ranching country.
Yes,
And
that's
it's
awesome.
I think that there's nothing more important than cows and chickens.
I know that's right. I would love to have my own ranch. Oh my gosh, I was telling my husband, I'm like, because we live in a neighborhood where you can't have even chickens. The neighbors down the road have them and we can't have them. I'm like, that is crazy. I would love to have my own. So I'm like,
Someday.
okay, babe, you're gonna have to get me my own little homestead
Yep.
one of these
Hey,
days.
I know you can do it. And I can tell you
Yes,
is
yes.
having land around you and like waking up, the chickens greet you, the cows greet you. They all have their
Oh,
own
yeah.
personalities, and it is the most wonderful thing in
That
the
is
world.
so cool. That is so cool. Annelise, this has been a fascinating conversation. Literally, I appreciate you so much. And I really appreciate the work that you are doing to help us understand. I mean, we talk all the time about, yes, this works. And so many people, millions of people are changing their health and changing their lives. But this why underneath is really, really helpful. It's going to help us to have these conversations. And so I really can't appreciate you enough for the work that you and your team at Stanford are doing. So thank you so much. I do want to give you the last word, but before we do that, I want to mention to everybody that Impact Meetup and Eat Up, the early bird tickets are on sale for that right now. And so let's see here. Yeah, Impact 2026 Meet Up and Eat Up with CarnivorousGrama and Friends, September 5th, 2026. It's going to be right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it's going to be amazing. If you guys have not seen the new flyer, it's up in my posts. So go check that out. Get your early bird ticket because the price is going up on February 16th, and so you're going to want to get your ticket before
Okay,
that.
what
All right,
is
you
the
guys?
price?
The price, so right now the price is $50
Oh,
and then it's going up
that's
to
no big deal.
65. It's going up to 65, y'all. I'm going to tell you, I really keep my price affordable because I want the people. Kalamazoo, Michigan needs this information, and we
Yes,
need to bring these we're bringing in the physicians, we're bringing in the people to tell their stories. Annalise just said she's coming, so
I'm
you
coming.
definitely want to come and meet her. And And so the price is affordable. A lot of these meetups cost a lot of money to go
It's
to.
true.
But
Yeah.
mine is affordable. You're going to have fun. You're going to get a dance party. You're going to get a lot of education. And it's just going to be a super, super dynamic event. So get your tickets, come on out and see us in Kalamazoo. All right. So, and then also I'll be back Monday night for Hey Sister Girl. So come back and check out G and I on Hey Sister Girl Monday night at 7 o'clock. All right, Annelise, I'm giving you the last word. What would you want like if you could tell them whatever you wanted to tell them, what is it that you want to say?
What I want to say is the great thing is, I've been talking about all this science and pathogens and all this. You don't even need to know any of that stuff. All you need to do, like Dr. Anthony Chaffee, is just eat meat, salt, and water, eggs if you can tolerate them, and you don't have to worry about anything. You can take your health to a level you didn't know was possible, no matter what your age is, no matter where you're starting from. And you don't have to be hard on yourself. Like if it takes you a little while to transition to it, that's okay. You do what you need to do to get there. And your future self will absolutely be so grateful to your current self if you will just try it and stick with it.
All right. There it is, you guys. We're going to see you next weekend for another episode of Carnivorous Grandma Speaks. See y'all next time. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.